everyone, this is Karak from AngryCentaurGaming, and today I'm stoked to bring you the review for Assassin's Creed Black Flag for the Xbox 360, PS3, PC, Xbox One, and PS4. I don't think I'm missing any. We have a healthy dose of history previous to this game, and at some point we may want to investigate to see if Ubisoft knows what originality is. But until then, let's see how this game fits both in the yar-hard diddly-dee pirate world and the overall series history. In Assassin's Creed Black Flag, you play as Edward Kenway, father to one of the Assassin's Creed 3 protagonists on his journey of self-discovery. Actually, who am I kidding? This fucker wants money with a single-minded determination that rivals all those that came before him. Just sort of imagine Al Pacino's staring contest with Robert De Niro in the movie Heat. It's that kind of focus, except replace De Niro with money and Pacino with Edward Kenway. He wants it and wants it now, to the ultimate despair of those around him. In fact, he is the tried-and-true pirate, eyes filled with the lust for gold and to be a bigger man. So shift your starters and prepare to be boarded, matey. Let's see if this is Colombian rum or pirate grog. Either way, this shit is going to make you tipsy and most likely give you cancer of the brain. Let's roll. Graphics are first. You know, as always with these games, the graphics are pretty damn good, and though there's still a bit of pea green soup inhabiting the far reaches of your vision, the islands you explore are beautiful and varied, and each has its own atmosphere and look. Like a beautiful woman, you can explore them until your heart's content, but always have to be on guard that you don't go into the dangerous zones without being prepared. The characters are straight-up renditions of the characters that have come before, and some of them have face swaps here and there, and you're still playing an Assassin's Creed game with the same overall look as the previous titles. Texture detail is still somewhat impressive, though. It's a bit muddy at times, while traveling in the ocean is actually damn pretty. For doing this much, the game runs at a pretty fair tack, especially taking into account the shit going on in some of the sea battles. At times, though, it shows its weary brow by some frame rate drops here or there when a group of ships are on fire and burning around you in ruins. I assume real life may slow down a bit then, but I don't know. I haven't blown 4 ships up in real life. It's noticeable, but doesn't really impact aiming or anything like that gameplay-wise. The pockmarked shadows of past Assassin's Creed games rear their ugly head, and it makes you think someone put a spaghetti strainer over the sun with little black dots appearing where finer shadows should be at points during both the cutscenes and the game. Overall, though, with all that's going on, the graphics go from good to impressive, and sometimes the game shows just how much it's doing with some FPS drops, but that usually happens in the sea and not on land. Overall, it was highly impressive. Next up, sound, music, and voice. The sound effects are really stellar, with a mixture of effects while aboard ship, a mix of, oh my god, this is chaos, to wow, how serene is this? I could just go to sleep. Excellent use of all sound effects throughout, and the guns both on and off land have that deep boom you want to signal the familiar warning in your head, get the fuck out of the way! Ships creak, sails flutter, birds buzz your head, water laps against the shore, and a multitude of animals make their presence known with various excellent sound effects throughout. Very well done, and mixed perfectly to leave room for all of the effects so they aren't crashing into one another like me piloting a boat. Now, music, this is some pretty deft shit, and they do a good job of mixing in the music with the action as it creeps up on you at various times till you realize it's reacting to your gameplay. Never a weak spot for music, this game just seems above the others. Not sure why, but the music and the effects fit perfectly, and this is probably my favorite overall theme and soundtrack for the game so far. Voice effects, they're really excellent, from singers singing amazing songs while at sea to the random passerby warning you when you get too close. Those who play the main NPCs do it with an added weight to their performance, never hedges into cheeseland, but instead weaves through the narrative very well. Even the short and minimalistic future locations have great voice work throughout. There are some standouts, but to go from very good to amazing isn't really worth calling them out. Voice work is just really well done. Gameplay. Okay. I've never been shy about my overall dislike of the gameplay of previous games. Not that I hated them, it just felt disjointed at times, with me constantly fighting either the combat engine or the free running and never feeling or seeing displayed that overall feeling of, I am a fucking ninja feeling that the game always seemed to want to impress upon me. I have to say though, and this could be because of the timeline, but this game nailed it harder than 2 teens on prom with a closed-windowed limo. First, as a pirate you're still a bit slick as a fighter, but the overall look and feel of the combat is pretty damn great, though the oddness of the various enemy types that require different things to take down still feels like Ubisoft was aiming for mini-bosses versus true fluid combat. If you hate the tit-for-tat battle, you won't find much changed. You may, though, find yourself caring a bit less. You run around, bash heads in, make funny one-liners, and save pirates who seem to be the most accident-prone shitbirds this side of a Leslie Nielsen character in the Naked Gun movies. Let's be honest, though, the movement still has some blundering moments, with times where your character leaps into the fucking great unknown like he's attempting to slam into the earth like a dinosaur-ending meteorite, but all in all, it happened less than the previous game, so I guess I'm cool with that. The ship-to-ship combat feels improved. If asked to put my finger on it, I would say it seems a bit smoother, easier to control, and overall fits this game and its timeline better than the previous titles. It just feels right, and I rarely felt like the game was the cause of my death versus just horrid pirating on my part. Boarding enemy vessels in the heat of a battle never got old, and trying to turn inside a ship intent on ramming me while also fighting off 2 or 3 smaller ships by peppering them with fire shot was intense and interesting, a really good job. There are also an insane number of upgrades to your ship which change it both visually and statistically, and Ubisoft nailed it in the balance department, where someone highly skilled at pirating might be able to get away with ignoring some of the upgrades for a particular bit of time, but sooner or later if you go into a cat fight with a water balloon, you're just going to piss everyone off and you're going to pay in the price for not upgrading your ship. The same upgrades occur around the main character, with the crafting system being a good overall, if somewhat unrealistic way of achieving many of the upgrades that your character can have by the end of the game. Now, there are tons of things you can do and explore here, more than can easily be covered, with hunting, whaling, shark stabbing, and games of chance all awaiting you. Never a dull moment unless you just want to walk or sail the world like Kane. Ubisoft filled the world with just the right amount to keep you busy in some way at all times. The typical Assassin's Creed activities remain, though possibly renamed at times, while the assassinations were more fun to me as the islands and their overall size meant a more strategic and fun style than the previous games. Now, that does become an issue when you begin to realize that the world is literally filled to the brim with booty. Booty so easy that a 300-pound legless chimp could swim to at least a dozen of the nearby islands and dig up enough treasure to be buried in harlots and haggis for months. But if they had increased the distance, it would have made the somewhat boring sailing even more boring. Instead, it's a fairly quick return on investment for the player. Multiplayer. Listen, if you like Assassin's Creed Multi, you'll like this. If you didn't, nothing exists within this game that'll really change your mind. Story. Unlike past games where your avatars were nothing more than Lippy the Hormone with legs, the character this go-around seems far less interested in spreading his DNA across a bevy of soulless-faced marionettes with digital uteri, and more on an exploration and discovery. Interesting, yes. Less digital husbandry, yes. Being brutally honest here, there's just a ton of gameplay, and for some reason when that gameplay is mixed with the unique landscape and main character, it just all fit for me. As someone who is not a fan of pirates, I found myself consistently surprised by the fluidity that the game moved me from one interesting activity to the other. So what do you get with Assassin's Creed Black Flag? Listen, there's some kind of voodoo or black magic required to keep a series of games going past the initial title without retreading the same ground until you have packed it down like old Roman roads. This past year, we've had sequels blow their title up to grandiose proportions like GTA 5, adding and refining in a monolithic sense, all the while adjusting the core gameplay to keep gamers interested. We've seen Batman Origins refine and condense to perfect those issues that had cropped up in the past and adding a few scant additions, and now we have Assassin's Creed Black Flag, a sequel or prequel or sometime equal that looks to offer a fairly unique game in a series that is dangerously close to same land. The real question is, does the game come across as a modification, broad in scope but listless and without that polish that most professional titles have? Or does it come across as a full-on title in the series with the refinement we expect from a sequel, but with a fresh coat of paint to cover the poxy marks of the past? So I rate games on a buy, wait for sale, rent, or throw the disc into the sky so someone else tries 300 failed leaps of faith to get it rating scale. This is a buy, and it's a buy with no reservations. Surprise is rare and usually carries a price, but as I played Black Flag, I found nothing so costly to ruin my experience. Instead, I played a game that was noteworthy in its handling of character, enjoyable in its plotting, filled with content that fit its genre, and for the most part ran outstandingly well. And in this day and age, when the danger of a sequel is at best fan trepidation, I felt like Edward himself a bit, exploring the world others may have more experience with, but I was seeing it with fresh eyes, filled with things I wanted to do, places I wanted to see, and far less fuckery. Enjoyable until completion. This is Karak from AngryCentaurGaming. Thanks for listening. Hit like if you liked it, dislike if you disliked it, and remember the age-old adage that will never steer you wrong. If you think someone is an enemy, they are, and if they aren't, whoops. Peace out, bitches.